It's time for Cutting Edge Consciousness with Freeman Michaels and Barnet Bain. Thought-provoking discussions and bold ideas from the edge of possibility.
We're glad you're still with us, and we are with our wonderful wives here on the Cutting Edge Consciousness New Year's spouse show. It should be the wife show or the spouse show. Whatever it is, it should become a tradition. So this is the first annual. Anyway, before we broke, Freeman, you were bringing up an interesting point about allotting time in a relationship, and you were turned towards Jasmine, and I felt that there was something about to be.
Yeah, well, I was just going to lead in by saying it's about having a conscious awareness, the kind of observer, I think, Sandy, that you were talking about initially, at least in terms of watching where you're going astray, but also directing where you're going, so that making time for things and knowing that it's important to have my interests that have nothing to do with my wife, that I go and do, and then there are things my wife and I do, and there's a level of intent behind it, that these represent conscious expressions of something I want to cultivate in my wife.
There he is again, trying to direct my life. You see?
Control.
It comes out anyway, right?
It just oozes out. I just want to thank you, though, that it was you and not me.
It's so much
This
better
time.
when I'm the fall guy, right?
Exactly.
But Jazz, these are things that we work on. You have things you like to do.
You know, it's funny because I think that I have been working on this balance for a couple of years. I feel like, we do a pretty good job. We do yoga. We try to do it at least once or twice a week together. That's good. We connect on those nights. Those nights are important to us. Beside that, every 3 months, mother-in-law comes into town. She watches the kids. We reconnect. A lot of times it seems very chaotic. And I'm doing the dishes and I'm doing what I'm doing, and I think to myself, I haven't spent one-on-one time with Isabella, my daughter. Or, she wanted a board game, and I don't have time for that. And it's like it's constant in my head that there's this kind of to-do list, and even if it's a to-do list that I want to do, it's just finding the time. So I don't know. And then so for me, it's like the kids are the priority, and then it's the relationship. And I know that and I've said this before, when people say, you go on vacations without your kids, like, who does that? And I'm like, well, we have to, because
absolutely,
if we go on every vacation with the kids, then it's just as chaotic on the vacation as it is at home.
Oh,
and there's no break and there's no reconnecting. So
I think, though, Sandy, what you said is really important, that we can over-identify with our kids' successes and with their juice, as it were. I mean, I can get so enamored with my son or daughter's talents, and I don't. There's a positive aspect of that. I mean, obviously, encouraging them and supporting them and really sincerely loving what they do and create and so forth is fantastic. But also drawing from it, how do I do this for myself? How do I do this when they're not around? How do we do this in relationship with one another? One of the things we haven't talked about, and it's a bit of an edge one, is the physical reconnecting. So again, with kids, it's really easy to stick a straw in them and suck unconsciously. We don't know we're doing this, but there are little, I can be a little mad at Jasmine, and Antonio or Isabella can come up and snuggle me, and I'm getting my needs met.
Right.
And that's fine, that's appropriate enough until it's not. And again, this whole balancing act of how do I reconnect, and not just reconnect, because I actually want to go further than that. This is getting to where the 2012 moving forward is. We've talked, Barnet, about my hugging practice, which is on and off. I mean, for me, connecting that way with people sometimes feels awkward, and so I have to honor that. But moving into just a level of openness and connection with semi-strangers, that's one thing. Now, you want me to go deeper? It's us going deeper. It's our intimacy. Because we have our threshold. We get our little reservation of where we're willing to go. That's our little thing. We do this. It's Thursday night. Honey, it's Thursday. That's it? No, there's the spontaneity and the so forth and so on. The idea, the illusion is that men don't want this. I really want this in my life. And yet, I get scared. I bump up against the edge and go, this is uncomfortable. We don't know. It could go bad. She could get mad at me.
Right.
We could do punishing or whatever it is. All these trailing bits can come in. So one of the things for 2012 is our physical but more emotional and spiritual intimacy is what I'd like to promote more of.
Yeah, and I think what that really has to do with, though, is the trusting and allowing ourselves to be that vulnerable, because I know in my mind I think of myself as a very affectionate person, as a very loving person, and then when it comes to that moment of show intimacy, I'm holding back a little bit, and I feel myself do that, and I've even noticed it a lot lately, where Freeman's very, he tries to be very affectionate with me. I'm like, I'm just not in the mood. I don't want to hug right now. Or, I go, gosh, what is that about? And I have to think to myself too, Sandy, that maybe it has to do with me. Maybe it has to do with, I don't feel like I necessarily deserve it at that point. I'm not keeping up. I'm not making time. I'm not, whatever that is. I don't even know. I'd like to look into that this year, figure out about that, why I do that, and maybe be a little bit more open to being more intimate and letting down my guard. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I know, San, you have some thoughts about that. You've discussed that in very similar terms over the last year.
Do you want to discuss it now?
Yeah, I'm not sure.
I know, I give you that deer in the headlights look, but that's...
I'm not sure exactly what you're talking about.
We were talking about the willingness to receive love. I mean, sometimes I will... aggressive is not the right word, but maybe not with an appropriate sensing, respect for the timing of things. You might be in the kitchen, and I'll come and sort of wrap my arms around you while you are involved in something else, and it's some of what may be indeed a resistance to love. Maybe that's there, and some of it is we're just conditioned to blame ourselves. Some of it is also a lack of it's a timing issue and an awareness issue.
There's an energy issue too with neediness. So sometimes Jasmine reacts to my neediness. I'll just throw that out there too.
Yes, I think that's true too. But when you were talking, I got a little clearer about things that I've discovered last year based on what you're talking about. And what you were talking about, Jasmine, there is some story you're telling yourself. There's some story I would tell myself when Barnet came at me at a time when my head wasn't there or I wasn't. So I had to go investigate and find out what that story was. And what I discovered was that even though it was loving, so in my head I'm thinking, well, this is loving, why can't I receive it? Even though it's loving, I had a way back story of love and loss being connected. There was love and there was loss. So even though this was sort of triggering some nice feelings, it was also triggering abandonment stuff. And you think, well, how would somebody coming at you trigger? And I had some old stories about getting some attention and how it went away very quickly. And so if he comes at me, in my old story, I was going to lose it. Whereas if we're just sort of status quo, I can handle it, I'm not losing it, we're together. But that intimacy also brought up loss and abandonment. So I had to take care of the parts of me that believe that and, let them know they're not alone and they're not abandoned.
Yeah, that's always the risk of intimacy. I mean, look, that's an edge for me. I mean, I brought this up on this show before. And again, I might be talking about sexual intimacy, but not so much. I mean, it's a broader thing than that. It's about, if I love my wife too much, this is like when I was a little kid and I imagined my parents dying. Yeah. Like if I love her and depend on her and am so connected to her, what if she's not here anymore? Yeah. Or what if she rejects me? Even the most subtle way of feeling rejected can, trigger deep held stuff about not feeling lovable and all those moments in my life where I felt crushed by whomever, in whatever context. So, look,
Dickens that said it's better to have loved than lost, and we go, nah.
There's also character style. I recognize that my character style is no.
Right.
I'm a no person.
Right.
And everybody has their own character style, so my immediate is,
Right.
First
and then I have
Give
to
me some
breathe
space.
through it
And
and
that's
go,
how I
oh,
feel.
no, I can say yes.
Yeah.
And breathe through it and let my child know she's not going to be abandoned. And all these things have to happen in a split second just so I can kiss him back amorously. you know?
Right.
But it's all going on in here, right?
Well, I think part of it for me is that the way that it should look.
This
Yeah.
is a huge one for us.
And for me, I love movies. I love love stories. And we laugh about this, but there was a movie that right after I watched it, it was a beautiful love story. Was it Under the Tuscan Sun? We fought. We
'Cause
literally.
it didn't look like that.
Our lives didn't look like
because
that.
Yeah.
he didn't love me like that.
Yeah.
And that's not okay.
Right.
And so whenever I receive affection from him, I feel like it's this energy of like, I want something from you.
Right.
As opposed to, I'm going to I love you so much.
Right.
Then I'm gonna shower you with love. I mean, that's how I felt when I was watching that movie.
Yeah.
And I was so angry that I didn't have that relationship. So for me, it's, realizing
That's
that
deep.
like, that's not, first of all, it's a movie. Second of all, it's like, it's not how you think. Never looks how you think it's going to look.
Yeah.
And
Your wedding day,
Yeah.
the day you deliver your baby,
Yeah.
they tell you could do this. It's natural, and you go, oh my gosh, give me the drugs. I mean, the way every aspect of my life is not how I would have
Right.
directed it.
And I think
Yeah.
the beauty is that we stumble into moments, though, where it's far greater than we would have ever imagined if we can get out of the story of how it's supposed to look. That's my sense of things.
And if we drill down just a tiny bit below the forms of things, forms follow function. If we get past how things look and how they show up for me, and I go down to, well, what's the function of it? The function of, I love that movie too, that Under the Tuscan Moon. The function
the
of
food, though.
I love the food of it. I love the light of it. I love the
beautifully
design,
shot, yeah.
the artfulness of it. I
Right.
love how the communities are so bonded together. And when I tap in to that is the function of what I see.
it's the
in Tuscany.
quality, it's the
It's
essence.
the essence.
Yeah,
That
yeah.
essence is juicy enough. That's the eros that we were talking about earlier. I can immerse myself in that. I can be that. And it takes a certain level of seasoning and maturity. We've come to the place in our growth, in our lives, where we have the awareness to make the distinction between, it doesn't have to just lie in what is given, but we can scrape down beneath what is given and extract the juice myself. I don't have to put a straw into my kids and suck the life out of them. I can put a straw into life and suck the life out of that.
I want to say and generate it. In other words, there's a quality in something that we can kind of tease out, know what it is, and sort of generate it. And that's just what intention's all about. That's what creating a vision's all
And
about.
we can give that to others, generate it and give it.
And that's the piece, too, going forward, is to know that there's a quality that we want to create, and we can look at ways and opportunities that might be good expressions, and yet be open to whatever arises. That's where the power of the intent, again, not tightly wound around a result, let's say, though open to results, not to exclude the possible expression.
But focused on the tone,
The
note.
On the note. Yeah.
Speaking of notes,
No, we're good.
we're
in
good.
shape. We're
good.
We're
I'm
gonna-
going
we're
to keep ratcheting my neck back to that clock.
You don't worry about it. I got a good
Oh, you
look
got
at
a good view of that
I've
clock.
done this before.
Can I tell a short Bali story?
Oh, yeah,
Oh, yeah,
please.
Bali stories. We're ready.
Which is
Let me put on
sort
my
of
sarong.
tied up- yeah, and your Uggs, your sarong and your Uggs.
Barnett.
that was the look.
Oh, the
Yeah.
Uggs!
Yeah, we'll have to put one of those pictures up on the website. When we were in Bali, we went to a healer. The group that we were with, all of us went to a healer. And I don't know if you saw Eat, Pray, Love when she goes to the
Yes.
healer, but it very much looked like that.
Okay.
We didn't have Katuk. We had another wonderful healer. And you sit out in an open temple. It looked very much the same. And the healer didn't know that Barnett and I were married. We were with 10 people. So I went up first and got my healing first. And through a translator, to just make a longer story short, he said to me that my passion, my mind was very passionate, but my body was passionless. That all of my passion was in my mind.
Wow.
And that my mind was very happy and alive, but my body was not happy. And so he asked me to smile, and I smiled. And then he told me to swallow the smile so that my body could be as happy as my mind and
That
as
is
passionate of my
fantastic.
mind. Okay.
Wow.
Then a few other people went up and got healed. And it was also pretty miraculous the way he shows you that he does some work over you and then pushes some pressure points that really hurt previously, but after he does the work, there's no pain at all. So I now know that my passion is in my body because I can feel that he's healed whatever had to be healed. Then a number of other people go up. Then Barnet goes up. He doesn't know we're married. He starts working on Barnet. He goes, your mind is so full of passion, so many ideas, But here, no passion in your body. And he does work on Barnet. He actually drew calligraphy and sigils on his belly, asked for permission, and did a whole thing. And someone told us that he was speaking to Barnet's soul and asking what symbols he needed, and did this healing. When he was done, one of our friends said, they're married. And the healer just burst out laughing because, of course they're
you're
married.
married.
They're the same people with the same issues. We're all brilliant from the neck up, and we're kind of a little dead from the neck down. And so he brought us up to his area, his healing area, and he had us sit in this position with our feet connected and our hands connected, and then he put his hands over us and did some more energy. And the passion, since then, it's been a great referent for me to get out of my head, so that when Barnet comes to me and I hear that, no, it's not here, it's here. Smile and swallow it. And now I do. I smile and I swallow it in, and I take a deep breath, and we can connect. And since our healing, we have connected on a much deeper, more fun, and more alive way.
I have not known, I confess this freely, for almost 60 years, that emotions are felt in the body. I did not know that.
Right.
I felt my emotions in my head as a concept. And to discover the emotional life of my body is a completely new world for me.
You know, it's interesting. I have experiences of it, but the experiences of what you're talking about are often a mental construct. Putting the two together, in other words. And what you were saying, it's interesting because, again, you guys match and mirror. Jazz the other day was saying about, because I was talking about you, and she said, Freeman, that's you. I was sort of complaining about you. Not complaining. I was expressing something that's consistent that we do.
About moi?
Doesn't matter. She said that because that's you. And again, it's so interesting how we draw in people that mirror and match where we're at. The opportunity, of course, is to then, as opposed to where you naturally come into conflict and it's the other person that has the problem, right? Is to own it. And then as a team, and you and I talked about this the other day, Barnet, how much we mirror and how grateful I am to have a mirror of someone who's willing to stand in the fire with me and own it and cop to it. Because then it's like as you grow, just as you say that, swallow the smile. I go, wow, that helped me.
Yeah.
That's a beautiful story.
It's beautiful, isn't
That's
it? And it
fantastic.
gives
That's
you
a
a
great
reference
story.
for how we're cut off.
Yeah.
And how to, if we connect here, then of course it's going to be easier to connect there if I'm connected here.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
I love my little
Swallow,
healer.
Love it.
swallow the smile.
That's a good one for
That's
2012. We're gonna
2012,
swallow the
we're
smile.
going to swallow the smile.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I was watching something on television yesterday. There was this psychologist talking about how everybody makes these really huge resolutions, and how oftentimes you can't accomplish a huge task like that. And so just that's nice and easy.
Yeah, we can do that.
Swallow the smile. I could do that. You know.
Yeah, don't make resolutions. I think resolutions are a tripping cord. Again, because so often they're tied to form. When we recognize there's a quality that we want to promote, then finding expression for it is a very different thing than making resolutions. I like to open that up a little bit. You guys know I do the weight release work, and that's where most people trip, is they're so tied to an idea or an ideal, and it's it's such a setup versus going underneath, drilling down, as you like to say, Barnett, and saying, what's the quality in this particular form or expression or whatever we're calling the end result that I want more of, and how do I cultivate that quality in my day-to-day experience so that I can embody it more versus just conceptualize it. That's my work. I mean, it's been my work, obviously, for a long time, in relationship with food, obviously, but also in relationship with all these other aspects of our lives, is to get it in my body, find an actual experience of it.
Swallow the smile.
Swallow the smile. That is our objective for 2012. With that, we only have a couple minutes, so I wonder, as we go around and we say goodbye, what we look forward to in 2012. What we look forward to as maybe moments, events. For us, I want to say one thing is, technically, we say we've been together for 10 years, but actually 2012, we will have been together for 10 years. So I'm looking forward to our 10th anniversary, and I want to make something out of that ritualistically and so forth. So that's a sort of moment I can say, I want to make something of that. Is there anything coming up for you? I know you've got the marathon, you've got things you're doing. Is there a part, something you want to point at and go, that's something I'm looking forward to?
I'm looking forward to really being a great team together this year and really focusing on making time for our relationship and reconnecting. And I say this, but, falling in love again, because I think that there's moments where we just become so busy and chaotic with the kids, and to rediscover each other, and that's really what I see for us this year. Yeah.
Sam?
I really resonated what you said, Freeman, about not making resolutions, but I'm very connected to how I want to feel next year. I want to feel more of what I have been feeling, which is self-love, authentic self-awareness. I want to be in my body and present, and I want to take that into the world and let that be the change I make in the world.
Beautiful. Barnett,
I'm with you, hon.
10 seconds.
I have 10 seconds. I want to be as grateful or even more grateful at the end of next year as I am right now at the end of 2011.
And with
I
that,
thank our
we are
audience
grateful to all
for
of
a
you.
whole year,
Yes.
Keep
and we
tuning
will
in.
see